theoretically do as an adult.
Oh, you have to be able to do it as an adult?
Well,
Or
ideally,
are
Wait,
still
you
doing it
didn't
as
qualify that.
I thought I did.
Hmm.
No, you said that you
Mm-mm.
can like think of that will calm you down as an adult.
Well,
That
you
would
could,
Oh.
I
make you
And why
suppose
not
you could
and why
think
don't
depressed
you do
about
them
it.
anymore?
Okay, so
because they're
nobody's
childish.
no. Well, yeah, I'm not talking about playing hopscotch or playing with
Oh.
dolls.
Oh.
Well, there's
Are
one.
you talking about eating cake for dinner?
Sure.
Well, first of all, should we get started? Record.
It's recording.
Oh, is it? Okay. Hello. Welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode 116 or 116. You can find us everywhere. We're still working on it. But tonight it is Jack's episode, and he wanted to kind of delve into our personal histories, things that we did that gave us joy, and then we'll delve into that a little further. But I'll let Jack explain.
Okay, so yeah, what I was hoping we've done a few episodes now back to back covering some serious topics going on in the world, the indictment, the fentanyl crisis, addiction in general. And I just thought maybe we could do an episode that's, a little more personal to us, give our one viewer an opportunity to get to know us.
We have
Um,
186 of them.
what's that?
We have 186 of them.
Yeah, allegedly. Allegedly.
And yet our views don't match up with that number.
It never
No,
does.
no, they just don't. No, they don't. Yeah, so no, I had this idea because somebody I know closely, somebody you guys all know, we were talking one night and some article, because we always look at like studies like psychology and sociology shit, things like that. And this thing kind of came over her phone, and it was about kind of a psychologist therapist's recommendation for today to patients that are suffering from anxiety, depression, those kind of issues. And the idea behind it was to think back to your childhood about, try to go back in your memory and try to come up with things that were sort of pastimes or hobbies that really brought you some joy. And in a way, kind of extend, an exploration of ways to sort of better yourself by going back to your roots. Kind of like that whole, the quote unquote inner child. I think we had a guest recently, Sheila Ramsey, who was a great guest.
Shit, amazing, yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing, talking about her journey and how she came to recognize or come to grips with this inner child or innocence that she lost. And I think we all do. Things happen, and now at our age you have responsibilities and such that create, so much anxiety. So is it worth looking back at your childhood at a simpler time, and maybe you could even incorporate that in your life today? So I kind of threw it out to these guys, to try to come up with some things that they can remember being like staples or hallmarks of their youth, be it really young children or even as teenagers, things that you did that you really thoroughly enjoyed doing. We all kind of went through phases with, I mean, toys, obviously, dolls or action figures or a football. You remember some of your first toys, but there's definitely some things from back then, I think, that, might be useful today. So I'm going to go around. Everybody just name one thing, and we'll see if other people have that in common. And we'll see if this turns into an informative or fruitful discussion for people out there. Maybe it's something they want to try to do. So I don't know I was gonna throw it out to Zeus to go first, but if
No,
you
you
want
go
me,
first.
okay, I'll come up with something. One of the things that I remembered I did. No, I have a couple. I have some in mind. I've given this some thought. Now my screen keeps going out, so it's making me Dark Brandon. Hang on one
We
second.
can see you.
We can see you. You're fine.
Yeah.
You got more of a Phil Collins in the air tonight vibe going on.
Oh, that's yeah. I'm just like a disembodied head. Yeah. So no, one of the things I remember doing a lot as a kid, and I don't know why I stopped over the years, but I used to love to do illustrations. Like I loved to draw. And I didn't care if it was just pencil sketching or pen or eventually colored pencils, markers. I used to actually make my own comic strips, and my friends would read them, and a lot of them would be gags. They would be like goofs on people we knew, and or there would be stories that reflected what was happening, in our lives at the time. And at some point, I know, you get things change, you get busier, your interests change. There's eventually, as a young boy, eventually it's girls are interesting, and you start to sort of filter or censor what you do because it might not be cool, whatever. And we all go through that phase, I think. But that was a huge thing for me. I was always sketching, I was always drawing. I never evolved to painting or anything like that because I phased out of it. But I remember doing it incessantly and like almost publishing it because I would show everybody that I knew. And it became kind of a thing, and I really enjoyed it. So that was one thing that
Do
I
you,
that
do,
came to mind.
do you still have like any of your originals?
Oh,
Or
see, no, that's a sore spot, Mike.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sure.
No, I can tell you a story, and this might have actually broken me. This might have actually, made me stop doing it. I had like a stack, some of them were action heroes that I created, but most of them were like comedy and things like that, or satire, whatever you want to call it. And I have an older sister, okay? Now, who's never going to watch this because I don't think she knows I even have a podcast that I do with my friends. But at one point, she's older, she went off to college, right? And we had to share a room because I grew up in a two-bedroom apartment. And so she went off to college first, being 2 years older. Now, at some point, and I'm going to say this because at this point, I don't care. At some point in that first year, she dropped out of college and came back home. Okay, so then she had to move back in, and
Total buzzkill. Yeah.
I lost my little sanctuary,
Yeah.
and then I went off to college, so the room was still divided. While I was off at school up in Boston, she at some point got rid of all my shit.
Oh
Oof.
no.
Oh,
Yeah, like she cleaned house. Like we used to. I mean, I came back on one home visit, and the room was painted. It was completely made for one person now, and everything that I had, with the exception of like some boxes of books, everything was gone.
Dude,
And
that's horrible.
yeah,
Did you
it
ever
was.
ask what she did with it?
Oh, I know what she did with it. She threw it in the garbage.
Oh,
Ah.
that's cool.
So
She
here's a
throw her shit in the
question.
garbage.
Here's a question. Does it bother you more now, or did it bother you more then? Like, have you come to peace with it, or did it not bother you at first and now you're pissed off about it?
Well, now that you asked the question of whatever happened to all that stuff, it bothers me more now. I gotta say,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
because it
I
would be
get it.
nice. It would be nice to look back on some of that stuff. Like I
Yeah.
I
have,
want to
no,
try some online therapy.
she's
yeah, no, well,
she's gonna
yeah,
come home next week, and Jack's just gonna.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say no comment on the online therapy. That's all I will say about that. I neither espouse it nor condemn it.
But if you want to know more about online therapy and certain people's views, you can check out the Nurses RN podcast.
Mm.
We just had it.
That's a suggestion.
Is that on? Is what platform is that on, Zeus? Because I
That's on
have
all the platforms.
Oh, is that on YouTube?
No, it's not a video podcast.
And
Podcast
actually,
platforms.
here on the Friends of Zeus, we're I think we have 3 people so far. We're waiting to get 5 people that will be coming on live for therapy with the 5 of us giving them advice.
That's a great idea.
So make sure you email
Or a
us.
Pause
very
therapy.
bad idea.
Pause therapy.
Pause therapy.
No, seriously, we have all these viewers out there. We don't know anything about them. We have Facebook followers. How great would it be if one of our fans said they would come on the show and just talk about whatever?
I'd
So
love
you're
that.
always, yeah, so just reach out to us if that's something that you're interested in doing.
We're also going to start promoting our own branded marijuana and mushrooms. So just keep an eye out for that as well.
I can't confirm
Back
that
to the
either.
topic.
All right. So Jack, just to finish, make sure I'm doing this correctly. So
Yeah.
how about bring it into present day? Or is this something you're looking at doing again, or no, or have you?
Well, that's funny. That's what I wanted to get to later. Like when we talk about some of these things, ask yourself, is it something that I could do now? And in the case of illustrations, for me, I kind of realized that I probably could. Like, there's really, none of
Why
us
not?
have a lot of downtime, right? Like, that's an issue with just life. But I think that we have a little more time than we think that we waste, and that doing things that maybe aren't really that healthy, or like I smoke cigarettes, and I used to drink, and you know what I mean? Like,
Podcasts.
yeah,
Playing games
no,
on your
podcasts
phone.
podcasts are very positive. It's a very
Yes.
positive vibe. But no, I think there's things that you could make time for. And so I was actually at Michael's just the weekend and picked up some art supplies, because one thing I had never done was painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it like twice now with Dana. We went to those places. It's kind of like called a dip and sip, where you bring a coffee or your own food, and there's an instructor, and they say, okay, this is what we're going to have as a painting by the end, and they set you up with the paint, the canvases,
Wow.
the palettes. They have them all over. I'm sure they have them in Virginia or DC. And I don't know about Wichita.
We've got tons of them. Pinot's palette, coloring line.
Pinot's.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd basically, and then there's an instructor who does it one step at a time, and you kind of follow along. And by the end of it, you walk out of there with an acrylic painting, and it's kind of cool. Like I did one. Dana's got it hanging in her office. My mom hung another one up here somewhere.
Cool.
I think they're terrible, but they say otherwise.
I think they're terrible too.
Thank you, Zeus. I appreciate
Just
it.
trying to
Yeah.
support it.
It's
Sketch
cool
the
to have
thumbnail
it.
for this episode, Jack. And
What's
we'll
that?
use it as sketch something for the thumbnail for the episode, and we'll use it.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that. I'll sketch us.
But
Either
Hey,
sketch it and just take a
caricatures.
picture of it if that's the easiest way.
Okay,
But-
cool.
it's cool though, Jack. It's like, I mean, personally, I have my dad's father who died back in the 80s. He was an amateur artist, and he I remember in his house he had a room that like went out to a garden, and that was where he painted. But he was an amateur artist, right? I mean, he had done it on and off. He died when he was in his 80s. But I have 2 of his paintings, and if you just like look at them, you're like, man, that's a little primitive or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're from him, right? And it's like
Yeah.
there's something about a painting or a drawing that's more, you can connect to it a lot more than say like a photograph or even a note or something like that, so
Yeah.
I mean, even if again, you don't have to be Picasso, right?
No.
That's
No,
the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of a healthy expression. It's almost meditative, which the therapists all say is like this thing you're supposed to be doing, to try to calm your mind if you have an overactive, or if you suffer anxiety or things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I thought back, because when we read this article, Dana had looked at me. She goes, "Well, what can you think of?" And I remember, and she remembered. She's like, "You used to draw all the time," because we knew each other as kids. Like, that's how we met. which is another story. That's
It's
another
awesome.
podcast.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, I thought about it, and that was one of the things in my head because I did it, all the time, and I really enjoyed it. So it's kind of like one of those things that when I think about time wasting or, things that we do, we have more time, I think, than we need. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely down, even if you have kids and you have a job, there's
There's
definitely time. You waste time watching TV or
Mm.
streaming or, just kind of sitting around, you know what I mean? And,
thinking of what to do. Yeah.
thinking of what to do. Right. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I remember. I don't know if should I throw it to you now, Mike? You got something?
I do. I have one, and it's like totally different. So
Okay.
if it's okay, I'll go next, just because it's like totally different.
Yeah.
So
If you got it.
I went, and I don't know how old you were when you were drawing, but I do remember, I would say from the time I can remember, 3 years old, 4 years old, up to, I don't know, 10, 11, 12. I loved anything involved with playing in the dirt. I'm talking like digging holes,
With spoons.
like making what was it?
Digging holes with spoons.
Yeah, digging. Well, even with shovels, whatever, making racetracks for cars, like diverting streams, like creating like river paths with my friend, and then like breaking through to the stream and seeing it flood or what. I mean, just getting dirty. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
building tree houses, being outside, getting down in it. So it's one of those things. Now it's like, as an adult, you have, I guess, gardening. I don't know, that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
camping maybe. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's just, but I don't know that scratches the itch. There's something about just getting into it that's fun,
Well,
and
I know
anyway,
that
so I don't know
wasn't
how
starting
I don't know
fire.
how what
I said I know that you weren't into starting fires as a child because
well, no, my
you suck
friend
at that.
we would dig holes and start fires. I mean, that's the whole outdoors thing. Anyway, as an adult, it's harder to do that. Like you camp, but camping, like I have that camping trailer, there's always like a buffer between you and nature. But when you're 6, you're just in the mud. Like
Yeah.
there's no in between, and you're getting poison ivy, and you're like jumping in the stream or whatever. So I look back at that eh, very fondly. I mean, just that, having that not caring attitude, and like running outside and just getting into
Yeah.
nature.
You wrote rather as opposed to just going out to a trail and going hiking or walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't really, I mean, you're definitely drinking in nature, which is awesome, they say, for your health in general, both physical and mental health. But I get what you're saying. It's not the only thing I could equate, and it's not something you could do regularly.
Mhm.
But if you're ever anywhere near, like if there's like a lake accessible to you, like I know that it just reminded me of that getting in the dirt. We had actually gone on a summer trip up to a lake in Maine one year for July 4th. I mean, like my family, like my dad was alive, my mom, my aunts and uncles. It was a great trip. And the lake, somehow there was like a tide, right? I don't know. I know nothing about nature, but but the water had
It's
gone
tidal.
out.
Yeah.
The water had gone out, and so it was all this mud. And I think one of the younger kids, like my younger cousins, pulled something out of the mud, and it was actually a mussel.
Wow.
Like the
A
sea.
zebra mussel.
No, like a seafood, like the
Yeah.
seafood that you eat.
Yeah.
And we're all, this was the Italian side of my family that knows how to cook really well. And so everybody got out there and we got filthy just digging out mussels, and then and some of the, like,
Nice.
my aunts and my grandmother would shuck them and clean them, and we ate like kings that night.
That's awesome.
But what I remember as much, if not more than the meal, was everybody out just getting absolutely filthy, just digging through the mud for this seafood. And it was a real memory, and it was great. It was
Yeah.
really so I don't know how you could do that regularly, but as close as you could to it. And I think gardening, I think you nailed it. Like a
But I
lot of
don't really like gardening, but that's the only thing I can think of that's similar,
yeah,
Well, why
have
not
you
try gardening?
yeah, why not? Why not do
Why
it?
not?
I don't
Or
know.
rock
I
hounding.
mean, rock counting or caving. I mean, like I went caving a lot in college, and you get freaking ridiculously filthy. But even, I mean, just being with nature, like I remember being a kid and like I'd wake up on a Saturday and my friend and I are like, hey, what do you want to do today? It's like, let's see how many frogs we can catch. So it's like 8 hours of going to ponds, streams, catching frogs. We had like a refrigerator box and we just filled, and then like at sundown, my mom was screaming at us because we had this box full of frogs and we just pushed it over and they all went like in the backyard. Must have been like 100 of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I mean, it's like totally stupid stuff like that. Like you never get a chance to just do, dumb stuff like that
Well,
as an adult.
well,
Not
that's
as much.
cool. That's the cool thing about having a young kid too, because if you do get out of like, I don't know if you live in an urban environment, but if you get on
Mainly.
if you
Yeah.
get on those trips, like the camping trip and things like that, you can do shit with your kid like that, which is fun.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
a little input on the rock hounding. Like Ollie, my oldest, he didn't get into it so much, but Max, man, when we're walking out of school, he's like, does this look like a good? Basically, it's like quartz.
It's awesome.
And quartz.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of courts.
Like we need to go to a quarry and like really find some interesting stuff. You guys will like this. So I went and bought like a box of like 3 pounds of various
Crystals.
stones and all. And I'll go, well, Max, let's go look for some rocks. And I've got a pocket full of them. And I'll just like toss them places where I'll go, oh, look. So he really
Dude, that is
he thinks he's finding Jasper in like the middle of Annandale, Virginia, which is probably not the case.
Zeus, that's awesome.
But
that's pretty cool, man. And
joy to fool my child.
And Max, if you're watching this and you're like 18, I'm sorry. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your dad's awesome.
I love it. And one day I was lazy and I put a pile of rocks next to his water bottle. We were at his soccer practice. It was like, look at all these rocks I found. Do you want to keep them? And if he would have said no, I'm like, I'm going to keep them anyway because they cost $40.
Yeah.
But, so
That's
maybe you
great.
look into that.
Rock counting. No, that's cool.
We got a tumbler. It's loud as shit and it annoys the hell out of, you guys can guess.
That polishes them, right?
Yeah, you put in different like grit. Like you have a coarse one for the first one, slightly less coarse after that, and then this very fine like sandy one, and they come out shiny and they look really cool. And we're doing it on like Radio Shack level. Like I'm sure you can like get a beast tumbler and better grit, and
there's always another place to take it.
Yeah, but it is interesting that some of the rocks that you wouldn't think would come out pretty are effing gorgeous. Like we got a lot of rose quartz in this area, so they'll be white with like little red streaks in them. They're very cool. But I just thought maybe that's
cool.
something you could look at with Rosanna.
Yeah.
But
that's cool, man.
All right, Zeus, you got one?
Things that I did as a child that I could or could not do now. I mean, there's one thing I did feverishly, and I still do that, but we won't talk about that.
I think I know.
I knew. Wait, mark the time. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
they
by
say
the
it
way,
affects your eyesight, but
yeah, by the way, we all did that, and we all have the we all have the ability to do that. And I'm talking about video games. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, video games.
Yes. I worked that joystick like anyway, no.
Wait, Zeus, if you're gonna make that joke, I think we all have to reference that cabin in the woods that you would have to find the material, because you've referenced that. No, you've referenced that in like 10 episodes. So that we just have to remind people about the cabin.
Yeah, I've been trying to work different analogies in, but actually something I did, and we actually are doing it now, but me and this guy, I still remember his name. I'm not going to say it because he was kind of a dick later on. But we used to like on those old Radio Shack tape recorders, hit the red button and play. And we would just do like these weird little radio shows and skits.
Hell yeah.
And man, I would like spend 2 nights over at his house. Like he was a good friend. I mean, he turned out to be a jerk later, but we had so much fun with this. Like, and we were like doing our own, I think it's called gaffing, when you do the, for a horse and you're using toilet paper. Yeah.
Creaky doors. Yeah. It's Foley recording.
Sound effects. And then, back then it's like, oh man, we screwed up. So you have to rewind and listen and then stop. Hopefully that's the right place. And like bargain basement editing. But it was so much fun. And I really enjoyed that. I think I wanted to be an actor and that was part of it, or a performer. And I mean, to a degree, that's what we're doing now. And this is like my grown-up version of it. We don't do the bits, we throw a few jokes out, but that, I mean, like I said, you know how it was when you were a kid, and I don't even think kids do this anymore. Do any of your kids, like, well, yours are too old, Jack, but Mike and Desiree, do your kids actually go and like stay over at another kid's house anymore?
Yeah.
That was like a huge thing when I was a kid.
Yeah, we do.
I'm good. I can stay at Brian's house this weekend or Friday night. My kids never do it. But I think it's just because there's this social retardation that's going on where like kids just don't go over to other kids' houses because they can text and they can do all this stuff. But for me, man, that was like the epitome of
all the time.
Yeah, that was the best.
And like staying at somebody's house. But that was what we did. We would do these little radio shows, kind of to give you a sense of the era. This would have been like, doing a little Grease Man bits or something like the Grease Man or Howard Stern before he was, the talk show host and he was more of a gag guy.
Yeah.
But for me, and I think you guys get that I'm a big personality and I'm kind of high energy. It was like so cathartic for me. It was how I dealt with my problems, is going over to somebody's house and maybe just seeing how miserable they were with their parents, and it made me feel better about me. Because also, when you went over, more often than not, suddenly you're the angel. Like, why can't you be more like that kid with the weird name?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had a lot of fun with that. That was my thing. And again, not to jump ahead, but it's what we're doing now, and I love it. And it's like, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have this show. And now the Nurses RN is picking up steam. I got to do this now. Like,
yeah, no, you're totally right, Zeus. This definitely is a substitute for that kind of interaction with others.
Energy.
Yeah, and not only that, but just the idea of whether friends sleep at your house or you sleep at somebody else's house. Like, that's the one good thing about the internet rather, is you can do this FaceTime thing with people. You can talk to people and see them.
Yeah, I think it's a bad thing. I think the process of going and staying at somebody else's.
Yeah, I agree.
No. I agree. I'm talking about us as adults.
Like, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not. We had our sleepover recently. Out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
We also just slept in one bed one night. Just all
all
piled in there.
Piled in.
No, you know what I mean? Like, this is a good substitute for adults. I mean, for us.
Well,
but I agree with you. Kids nowadays, they're just sucked into the screens. And
for what it's worth, for kids, this is not healthy. For us, it's a way that we can get out this nervous, artistic, or creative, or educational energy, and we get rid of some of that the minutia that makes it harder for us to do it. Like if we had to go to a movie studio, or you know what I mean, like a production studio, and do all this, we might not. Well, obviously, Des is in Wichita, and you're in Jersey, Mike's in Maryland, I'm in Virginia. It would be a hell of a lot harder to do. So yeah, this is a great substitute for, or not even a substitute, just it's it's the best way for us to be able to get out all those energies. And like I said, again, when I was a kid, I phased out of it. Fine. But now, man, I'm in till I'm 80. Like I'll see 80.
Yeah,
but
right,
you know,
me too.
I mean, I'm in this for the long haul.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's definitely a good time. And it, I in my mind I hadn't really linked this technology and this interaction with you guys every week to the idea of a get together at somebody else's house, but it is kind of like that.
It kind
I
of
mean,
is. Yeah.
yeah, it is definitely. And it's also like a creative outlet. Like it's, I mean, I like it because it's adult conversation with guys that, that are my friends that I don't get to see all the time. So, it's, whether we have 10 viewers or 186 or 1,000, you know what I mean? Like I'd like to
Whatever
keep
number
doing it.
you throw at us this week.
Yeah, whatever number. It doesn't
I don't know.
matter.
I'm fine with just us four sitting and talking. I love
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
It's great.
Us
Des-
four. That's
Desiree,
fine. Yeah,
you got
fine.
something that you remember fondly?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that the reason that kids don't spend the night at each other's houses anymore is far more sinister than just screen time.
I
But
get
Oh.
that.
I'll leave
I
that
get
there.
Yeah, I get
So-
that.
Well, back in the day, you knew your child's friends, and maybe you'd even met the parents, or you knew what they did for a living and what their house was like. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just different. I mean, you sort of trusted your neighbors more than you do now, I guess.
During the
Again-
summer, when I was growing up during the summer, I probably spent, I mean, not an exaggeration. I'm probably underestimating. During the summer, I probably spent a third of my evenings at friends' houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just like,
Easy-
hi, mom,
easily.
I'm staying the night at Kim's house. Okay, bye. And then like that was it.
Yeah.
You know, there was
Yeah.
no like.
And then the other third or 40%, when I was at my house, people were at my house.
Yeah.
And sometimes multiple people.
Yeah.
We've lost that. We've lost that in this world. I would love for my kids to have that. For God's sakes, can somebody watch my effing kids for like 3 hours so I can do whatever?
Right.
Yeah, we've lost that human connection
Yeah.
in the world, and we're trying to replace it with this. And I mean, hopefully we get thousands of viewers and we put back into the universe that's my hope for the show. It really is about like just letting people know that people think like them, or giving them a coping mechanism for something that's going on in their life. Or yes, I agree that person's a maniac, or this person's a bad politician. You know, now you can't talk in front of people because you might get canceled.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
In your own little microcosm of neighbors and close friends. So it is very interesting.
Oh, you know what the funniest thing to do is? This is so fun. So when Craig was the
she's like, oh my God, your child died.
no, this is the adult children
Just
in
kidding.
this household. When Craig was the president of the Donald Trump for Kansas campaign, he had all these fucking yard signs. Oh, so we still have these freaking yard signs in our garage. So many yard signs. The funnest part about the yard signs was you get to go and put them in people's yards.
Oh boy.
Sometimes multiple.
Yeah.
And you ever heard of like forking a yard? You ever forked a yard?
No.
Yeah.
What is
What?
that?
Okay, so you know like TPing a house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so a forking a yard is like taking like a bunch of plastic forks and just sticking them in the grass. Just, they'd be like 300 forks in someone's yard, just fucking forks stuck in the ground. That's
What does
forking
that
a yard.
do?
I
It's
never
funny,
heard of that.
And then you walk by and you go, look at this forking yard.
Yeah.
Nice, Zeus.
It's not as damaging as the TP, because the TP gets stuck in the trees. The shit doesn't ever come down. Forks, they're a little bit less harmless, but they're very funny.
Yeah.
Or like people get flamingos, those yard flamingos.
Yep.
And like as fundraisers, you'll like
Right.
pay them and they'll go flamingo a yard, and then it gets passed on. Anyway, so yard sign a yard. Just
Oh, like
Trump a
like
yard.
20 yard signs.
Yeah,
Trump
Trump
a
yards.
yard.
Did you do it with the Democrats in your neighborhood?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's the point.
If they had like 3 different, political signs in their yard, well, they're getting trumped. They're getting their yard trumped.
Wow, man.
My sister's always trumping them. They get so pissed.
Trump. So for her,
Trumping a yard. See, that's funny because when all that election was going on, I had friends that would put Trump signs on their lawns, and then they'd wake up the next day and the sign was gone because
oh
their
yeah,
Democrat neighbors would take the sign down.
Yeah, well,
man, no
See,
question.
that would kind of piss me off.
yeah, but then I'm
Yeah.
gonna trump your yard, so
Yeah,
I have the
well,
ability.
No. I'm saying if I had a sign of whoever I like and somebody removed it, add all your Trump signs, but don't remove mine because then
No,
I
we
got-
didn't ever take them down. I mean, or we would take them down, but just like we wouldn't throw them away. We would just lay them down.
Yeah,
You know.
right.
So
you know,
was this
What was
something
your
you did?
childhood memory?
Did you do this when you were younger as well?
I would fork yards. I'd
Oh,
fork yards. Anyway, that's not my one, but you should.
Okay.
Forking yards is fun. You dress up like in all black. You look like a cat burglar, and you're like, dun, dun,
Oh yeah,
dun,
no,
dun,
doing
dun,
that
dun.
kind of stuff. We used to do pranks on neighbors like porches and yards when I was a kid. When we had summers down the shore, like we had a little place down the shore, and that was a whole different animal. We'd go fishing, crabbing, pranking people's houses, lighting dog shit on fire in a bag, like
Okay.
stuff like that. But I mean, that's like I'm in an urban environment. One, two, I don't think that kind of mayhem would be good for me right now to go around like, doing the kind of pranks that
Well,
I
you
do.
can't
Yeah.
run away.
It's not as funny when you're like 50. Yeah,
No,
it's
no.
Well,
Well,
the reason
Desiree-
you can't fork your yard
Desiree-
anymore is because everyone has a Ring camera, and so it wouldn't work. But
No.
plus you
no.
got to reach all the way down and put the fork in the yard.
yeah,
Yeah.
it might throw you back out.
Yeah, my back couldn't do that. Yeah.
So anyway, so my thing,
And it's hard to run with Crocs on.
Yeah.
not if you put them in speed mode or sport mode.
Oh, sport mode. Okay.
Sport mode.
So what was your childhood thing, Des?
So it was really kind of hard for me to think of one, but I thought of a couple.
Okay,
So
cool.
I used to play the violin when I was younger.
Hmm.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like really good. Like really, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was pretty good.
Toot, toot.
And
Yeah.
I played from like 4th grade till my junior year of high school.
Wow, that's a good long time. Yeah. 5 years.
And then I wanted to play the cello, which I did play the cello for a little bit, but my hands aren't big enough for that. It's just really hard. But the reason I quit playing, this is the dumbest reason in the world, is because I would rather have gotten my nails done and looked cute rather than not, so I could play my violin.
Yeah, it's that whole boy girl thing.
It's that whole, kind
Wait.
of fitting into the.
So you can't have designer nails and
No,
play
you
the-
can't. No, you can't have like any type of nails that are long at all because you when you put your fingers on a string, you're putting them like right there. So like you're not doing
Oh.
that. You're going like that. So
Gotcha.
you can't.
Okay.
Fingernails are not going to work out for you.
So
Wow.
are you looking at playing again at some point? Or are you
Well, so we talked about getting a little bit vulnerable earlier before we
Yeah.
started. So
Yeah.
the reason I kept my violin after I stopped playing or whatever, and then I ended up having to sell it because you get you move out, you embark on your own, and you
You
you're
need
like
to
kind
sell
of
it.
money.
Yeah.
So and it was really
They're
I mean,
not
I was
cheap
like,
either.
no, they're not, and they don't give you much money for them. So
No.
My oldest plays the viola, and he's in orchestra. Like he's very good.
mhm.
All right. Well, let her finish the story, unless you were done, Des. I hope not.
So I did buy like an antique Stradivarius recently.
Wow.
Wow, good for you.
It was like really in bad shape, but I got it fixed and stuff, and I got it restrung, and I got the bridge and stuff fixed and all the things. But I mean, I kind of messed with it for a little bit, but I mean that was that. I
Mhm.
can't, I don't have the ability to read music anymore. I mean, this is all stuff that, they say it's like riding a bike, once you kind of start getting into it, you could probably, remember
say a
and it would
lot.
come back to you. But, man, that would, I feel like it would take a lot. I'd have to
Mhm.
learn how to read music again. I'd have to learn how to, so I don't know. I thought I could just
Yeah.
pick it back up and it would all just flood back in and the beautiful music would just be made, but it didn't work out like that. So that's kind of
Well,
Like-
yeah, but as far as a hobby goes, it's a great, pastime and a great hobby. And they say, do you think it would bring you pleasure to kind of learn how to do that again and make music? Or Did you?
I think that the pleasure would come after I had to do all the things, like the lessons
Sure.
and after doing the work, the joy would
Yeah.
come. I just don't want to do the work,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
and
the
that's
thing.
the sad part. It's like, how much would it really take that much? No, probably like an hour a week. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah,
feel
like I said before, I think we all have a little more time than we think we do to
Yeah.
pursue the kind of thing that we enjoy doing. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I say go for it. I mean, you know what I mean? It's a talent and it's
Mhm.
there, and you enjoyed it when you were younger, so
Yeah.
why not? Go ahead, Zeus. I'm
I
sorry.
was actually going to say not the opposite of that, but I was like, I feel like an instrument is something that mid, like 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s is far harder. I feel like an instrument is probably something that you'll pick up later in life, like in the golden years when you have an abundance of time, because it requires a lot of time.
Practice. Yeah.
So I mean that's my thinking. I mean, unless you've been playing constantly for the past 30 years, I think the desire can be there, but the time that really is involved in becoming, highly talented in an instrument really does require a lot more time.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
when did you guys start like playing guitar? Or
Exactly. I mean, to Desiree's, point on that, like I had played years and years and years ago, and then I recently acquired a guitar. A guy that I knew gave me this guitar because it had a hole in the back of it. He's like, "You want it?" I was like, "Yeah, it'd be cool to have an acoustic. Maybe I'll get into it again." And I've been messing with this thing for like the last year, not a lot, not lessons, just, looking at some chords and looking at some simple songs. And it was not something I did as a child. Like it wasn't like a childhood hobby. I didn't think I could ever play a musical instrument. I get a lot of pleasure out of it now. And it's one of those things that I think, Zeus, you got to set your goal. Like, if you think you're going to be Eddie Van Halen at this point in your life, you're right. That's like you'd have to basically dedicate your entire life to the instrument. But if you just want to be able to play a few songs,
Noodle around.
yeah, you can do that easy just by getting a chord book, listening to a song, and trying to, knowing where to put your fingers. It's just a matter of whether you want, like, again, is it going to bring you joy? Is it something that you'll enjoy? And I think done is better than perfect. So if you just set a goal, like, I want to learn these 3 relatively simple songs because I can sing, like, I can't, but you can.
I love singing.
You can do that. You can do that in a quick like they say, it's never too late to learn how to play the piano. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to wait.
After midnight, people are sleeping.
No, right. Thank you, Mike. That's good. That's a good dad joke.
Mark the time. That's got to be at the start of the show.
Sorry.
9:30.
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I tend to be, and I don't want to take away from Des this time too much. I just want to say I tend to be like full bore or completely fucking uninterested. So like, if I'm going to learn to play the guitar, I don't need to be Eddie Van Halen, but I'd like to be able to learn a few songs that I can sing to, which singing and playing, whole nother animal. Playing and not singing, probably much easier. But when you got to tune your voice in with it. So I'm like, for me, it's going to be later in life. Hopefully I don't get the arthritis,
Yeah.
It's going to be about that.
I got you. Yeah. I mean, if you got to have a real interest in wanting to be able to do it. I mean,
I just don't have the time.
I think
we all of us have all the time in the world. It's how you choose to spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
Desiree.
wouldn't wait till you're like retired, Zeus.
It's only like 8 years.
I know, but
it's really not that far.
You're not going to have as much time as you. I mean, if you want to do something, do it now. If you want to travel, I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Don't like wait till you retire to start traveling.
Yeah, you could die tomorrow. No offense.
Yeah, man.
Most likely I will.
Oh, stop.
I had a doctor
So
one
that-
time who, normally like you tell your doctor stuff and they're like, yeah, man, whatever. And this guy, I was probably
Doctors say that.
yeah, well, I don't know, but
You're gonna
I was probably
die.
I was probably in my mid to late 20s, and I was just like, it was just like a regular doctor, right? It wasn't like a therapist or anything. And we were like talking about stuff, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm like so busy or whatever. And he was probably about 10 years older than me. And he was like, listen, I started my own business when I was in med school. I got through med school. I have 5 kids right now. I'm a coach for my kids' baseball team. Da, da, da. Like he's going on through all. He's like, I have my own practice. He's like, I'm not too busy. He's like, it's all in your head. Like it's not a lack of time. It's a lack of desire. It's a lack of planning. And again, I'm not one of these people that's like, burn the candle at both ends. But he was right. I always remember that. And again, that was like 25 years ago. It's like, man, you're not saying that you don't have time. And I mean this because I say it to
Really
myself.
saying you don't have interest.
It's a cop out. It's a cop out.
It's a cop out.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
It's totally a
automatic
cop-out.
excuse. It's a I don't have time for that.
Yeah, and Zeus, I'm not attacking you. I say the same thing to myself. So
Yeah, we all
I'm not,
do.
yeah, we all do. But it is a cop out.
And
Yeah.
really with how rapid like social media and all that, like there's a lot of things that we should not be bitching, that a lot of our time is consolidated into a lot of things that are done much quicker. Now, are they better? That can definitely be argued. But
Well,
yeah, so it's actually more of a cop out now than it would have been in the 50s.
Well, right. And then also, I mean, if you look at the booming market of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, etc., cable news, like there's a lot of time we spend more passively just being entertained rather than taking active and intent and creative outlets. I mean, it's just easier. So I mean, it's like you said, it's a cop out. I mean, it kind of is. You just do what your interest is. And right now, a lot of people, and I'm not judging because I'm like this too.
Yeah, I'm not judging. Yeah,
Sometimes it's easier just to sit back and be entertained. I mean, I get it. I rather than do something that takes work and practice like music. I mean, no doubt. All right. So Tom's busy right now doing something.
wow, man, he's like on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what he said. I guess I'll let him share when he comes back as to what he's up to. It's in the chat, Mike. It's in the chat.
Oh, I'll have to
Yeah,
look.
I don't
Well,
get it.
yeah.
Is this cryptic?
No, it's
Or
in
is
the
it
chat.
literal?
It's very clear what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I know. But is it literal?
Yeah, I think that's literal.
Okay.
I have no idea what's going on.
Well, Mike, do you have a number 2?
Yeah, you got a number 2. Or I could go,
Or do you
Mike.
go number 2?
No, I do. Let me close this. Okay. So another one, and this is one that I do partake in a little bit now, not as much as I used to when I was younger, but so this would be like when I first started driving. For like the first 2 years I would drive, and a little bit into college, but I used to like just go out to drive, like the act of driving, like getting in the car, picking a destination and just going. And typically, like I got to know, so this would be in the late 80s. So I got to know a lot of like the country roads, that were like outside of town, and put in some music. Like there was a cassette at the time, and just go for, I mean, seriously, like you would go to the gas station, and at the time I was borrowing the family vehicle. This was usually on a weekend, and I have like $7, whatever, put it in there. I'm like, okay, I knew how much miles I had, and it was just for fun. And I do that from time to time now, but normally it's, I'm at a meeting somewhere, and it's 30 minutes to get home. But if I took the scenic route, it's like 45 minutes. Right. So I was like, put on some music, put on something to listen to. But yeah, just going out and driving for driving's sake, not because you're trying to get somewhere. Yeah, I always have found that very relaxing.
We used to do that too. We used to call it booze cruising. Was that ever a thing that you guys did?
Not this was always something very just me. Like it wasn't something I wouldn't. I mean, I would take drives with other people, but
Sure.
personally, like just getting in the car and just going. Fond memories of that.
Right, but did you booze cruise with your friends?
No, I really didn't. I didn't really drink much till I was in college. Like in high school, we didn't
Jack?
really drink that much at all.
Yeah,
Like
no.
at a friend's house, his parents had like a bar, and like we would, but we were total lightweights, right? It would be like one or two drinks, and we're like we're sleeping. I didn't really get into any sort of recreational party drinking till I was in college.
Gotcha.
I started younger.
I mean,
Jack,
Yeah,
did you-
well,
did you
I mean,
booze cruise?
if you're saying by booze cruise, are you talking like open containers in the car and drinking
I'm-
and driving?
I'm talking about out on the country road, just out of the city, just everyone just you stop at the gas station, you get a couple cases of CL smoothies, put them in the cooler in the
Nice.
trunk.
Mhm.
yeah,
And
I'd love
that
to
is
have done that.
That's what your activity is, booze cruising. You just
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
drive around.
But it's
No.
the same thing. You're just going out to go out. You're just
Yeah,
cruising.
and everyone had to pee. You like pull over in the field, everyone take a piss.
In
yeah,
Florida,
no, we definitely didn't like we did a lot of drinking like back when I was in like high school, college, whatever. There was a point, but we always would like go to like the park, like somebody would have a fake ID. I remember I had a good one. And we would just like find a place to drink or wait till somebody's parents went out, like at somebody's house.
Mm.
But we had no country roads to speak of. And
Take me home.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I've seen Hoboken. There's not a lot.
no,
So-
and no, we didn't really. I mean, not to say that no one ever got behind the wheel after drinking, because that definitely happened. But we pretty much would find a place to hang out and stay, and that's where the drinking was done. There was no beers in a car and knocking them back and pulling over to pee like that.
I
we
tell you
didn't
what, the
do.
best booze cruising is when somebody has a truck
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
and you're in the back.
and everyone's in like the bed, and like maybe a couple of the guys are in the front driving the truck and shit. But
Right.
maybe we
that's
have some
the best booze
drivers.
cruising.
Maybe
Like
we have drivers.
yeah, it's like these roads. There's no police.
There's
If you
no
get into a
traffic.
wreck, you're not going that fast. I mean, you know what you're
Yeah.
doing. You're booze cruising. You're not flying down the dirt road.
But it also depends where you are. Like, so I'm like where I'm talking about is like north of Baltimore, Harford County. It's pretty rural, whatever, but it's not like super rural. You know, I mean, there's still like
Right.
cops and stuff like that. But I don't know. I personally, I just didn't drink a lot in high school, but I know some people did. But yeah,
I drank enough for you, Mike. Don't worry.
okay, that's good.
This one time we weren't booze cruising, but we were just cruising, on the dirt roads. And then so we went on this one. It had like a railroad track and then like a dip. So if you just booked it, and everyone knew it was there, if you just like booked it fast enough, you catch air coming off that railroad track.
Oh, Dukes of
It's-
Hazzard stuff.
Yeah, so we're like gunning it, right? And so
Right now,
we
the boys
hit-
are running away from the police.
Yeah.
yeah, think about that whole like under the car, like angle of the camera. So that's what the thing we're trying to achieve was. So we hit the ground after we catch this air. This is a Jeep we're in. Well, the first thing that happens is the tire pops, and so the car just like off the road, and we hit a Christmas tree farm, and so
Oh,
it probably
boy.
took out like 7 Christmas trees. They were like younger, like it wasn't like it. We hit a tree and it stopped the car. I mean, they
Right.
slowed the car down as it rolled, but
So
Yeah.
Des, you'll probably relate to this. I grew up, my like formative
Wait,
years were-
Wait, Zeus, time out. Just for our audience, we definitely recommend picking up a musical instrument you used to play in high school.
Yeah,
but we
man.
don't we don't recommend booze cruising like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
did
yeah,
when you
don't
were a
booze
kid.
Yeah,
cruise.
no, don't play an instrument. Yeah,
Nah,
don't.
dude. Nah,
But
nah.
you can go out and drive
Break
around
up.
and listen to
Everything in
music.
we
moderation.
don't drive either. So like this
Yeah,
ozone,
Yeah,
But
no
it-
drinking
greenhouse
and driving.
gases.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying. Here's the thing: if you can take an album that you haven't listened to in a while, or whatever, a new album, and there's nothing like putting
Going
it
for a
in,
drive.
and you got an hour to just mindlessly drive and listen to music. To me, that's in the top 5.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's very meditative.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zeus. You wanted to get something off your chest.
So Des, you can probably relate because it sounds like our teenage years were closer. We didn't drive around drinking, but what we would do is we would like find a spot, and in Florida, there's just a ton of like
Hold on, pause.
you drive
remember-
like
do you remember when the last episode I said, that when Zeus comes in and starts talking about the thing that we were just saying, but rephrasing
No,
it
I know what you were talking about. What I'm saying
Jack
is
was
that
talking about the parks and the spots.
no,
parks.
that's what I'm saying. But it sounds like you would drive and go places and do it. We were always like settle on a spot.
That's what she's trying to say. I already talked about that.
But you guys aren't letting me finish. Des, did you have the whole? You found the spot, you get there, you're settled, you get smashed, and then the cops come and everybody scrams.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we did have cornfield, parties.
Yeah.
But that,
But for me, that was always like so exciting. Like the cops are there, and they're gonna catch like the first 4 kids that are like can't run. But the rest of us, we knew where we were, we knew how to get somewhere, and we would usually get home like 4 hours later, but we didn't get busted. Was
it in a cornfield?
On a beach in a marsh?
I'm 1 for 1. I went skinny dipping one time, and as soon as I dropped trowel, Baltimore County police officers were right there with flashlights.
Spotlight.
Oh, that's
1 for 1. Tried it one time, busted. And the only reason I went was this girl that I was like interested in. Like I went out with her friends, and they all like went up the reservoir and were like, "Hey, let's go skinny dipping." I'm like, "All right, man, whatever." We're like going under the bridge and like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I mean, literally, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And that was it. That was the only time I ever tried it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Stone cold busted.
Yeah, you'll get there again someday, Mike.
Tom,
I don't think anyone's ready for that. Yeah, that's going to be a while.
Yeah,
last week.
Oh, look at Tom. Tom, there he is.
All right, Tom, you got to catch up, brother.
Yeah, what do you got?
I'm glad I'm a happy drunk.
All right.
I don't know.
Why didn't you just bring the booze downstairs with you?
Yeah, bring the bottle.
I did bring.
Okay.
I'm gonna finish it down here.
It's my favorite episode, by the way.
It's had some good example. I like the music one because that rings true for me because I've forgotten so much with the guitar. I used to be able to play so many songs, but I've forgotten like 90% of it. But like Jack, I'm trying to pick it up again. And Jack, you brought back memories. I remember doing the same thing. I think for me, did you do comic strips and comic books? Because I remember like drawing my own comic book.
Yeah, I did that too. It was great.
I do like the whole thing, lay it pages, the cover. I'd copy the Marvel cover the way they did it with the
me too.
Comics code symbol and everything on there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd take it to school and show everybody, and then I'd come back like a few days later with episode 2 or whatever.
I did that too. I just didn't want to be like. I kind of knew that probably most of us had that little artistic period.
I didn't do comic books.
That wasn't going to be one of mine. I mean, by no means. Yeah. I'm not the artist in the family. My older brother, he's left-handed, and he's a really good.
Those damn lefties.
Are you a lefty, Mike?
Oh yeah, better believe it. Representing.
So what was yours, Tom?
I don't know. Well, before I got misconstrued about what the goal was, my first thing was going to be arcades. Kind of a favorite pastime
video games
when I was a kid, and they don't really have I can't really do that now, and not only because I'm old, but they don't have them anymore.
There's a few.
Yeah,
are there still like an actual arcade?
No, yeah. So if you go,
they're different. Like the Chuck E. Cheese.
No.
Used to have a Chuck E. Cheese and like a Golden Dome over at Beltway Plaza in Greenville.
About Dave and Buster's.
No.
They're different.
No, there's a place in Glen Burnie, Tom, called Crabtown, USA. They've got like 100 vintage arcade games and pinball machines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are popping up. Yeah, there was one that popped up in Bethesda that just did like pinball machines. But I think they closed. They went out of business. Like
there's one in College Park that has about 60 vintage, beautifully restored, perfect condition pinball machines, and they're all like a quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, we have one of those in downtown Wichita too. It's called The Arcade, creative name, but they've got stuff like that.
You got to seek them out, but they're out there.
They're different. Shooting anybody, the younger people, when you say you used to play at Chuck E. Cheese, they don't understand. Chuck E.
In the
Cheese
ball
was
pit.
like a hardcore arcade back in the day. It was not like you go there now and it's just all like ticket machines and
Oh yeah, no,
the
ticket
Hold on.
machines.
machines.
Does your
they're
Chuck E.
putting it
Cheese
in
have
India, I
that
mean, it's all video games.
life-size operation game?
What game?
Yes. I no,
That
I don't
game-
know. It was Chuck E.
That
Cheese.
game is fucking fun.
Life-size aberration.
It's
Operation.
no Operation.
Oh, Operation. Yes,
Operation.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the new ones.
I
They
just
didn't have
love
that like back in the 80s.
No, I know, but now fast
just
forward
love
to you right
that
now.
Yeah,
Tom said-
I rack up the tickets on that one nowadays.
Tom
Yeah,
said
me too, man.
hardcore Chuck E. Cheese, which is
It was like all
my leather
like, video
jacket.
games. Video games.
hardcore.
It was just well, hey, did you see those animatronic
Yeah, man.
bears that they used to have just to sell
Wasn't there
pizza?
like a
Those things scare
Like a
me. I don't
bargain
like them,
basement?
but
wasn't there like a secondary Chuck E. Cheese where it was like Ricky the Rat? Like I seem to remember that there were like
Ricky the
There's
Rat.
always,
The-
like,
no,
a
I mean I'm just
knockoff
making
of-
it up, but
Yeah.
knockoffs of Chuck E. Cheese. Like everybody was trying to get into that game.
No, I never seen a Rick the
definitely
Rat
remember
or
that
whatever.
I don't think it was actually called Ricky the Rat, but
No,
This
I
could
know
be
what
an
you're
SNL
saying.
skit, but
Ricky the Rat.
But, I mean, I
They
was
just
like,
threw
we
that out.
were into like video games a lot, and so I'm not even touching on the home video game systems. That's another
mm-mm.
one that
Yeah.
could be on my list. But just the arcades and going to the arcades, and
Mhm.
I mean, we were so into it. I remember we would like map out. I knew like the location of every video game throughout the arcade. We'd have it mapped out of where we were going to go, which order we were going to play all the games, stuff like that. I mean, we were
There were no
Yeah, we
tickets
had-
though.
Go ahead, Dad.
You didn't get tickets. You just simply
there
played
was
the
no
game for the
tickets
joy of
back-
playing.
was
The
there
Yeah,
game.
even
just played
tickets
the
back
game.
then?
There were
Yeah.
no tickets.
Yeah, there was always one of those like quarter machines. You put the $5
You would
in, you
just
get
use
all the quarters
tokens.
pour out.
It wasn't even quarters. It was just
Do you
tokens.
remember when video games were like in 7-Elevens and Highs and all these
Restaurants
other
and everything.
places?
Mhm.
Dude, do you remember playing in arcades where like they had the cigarette burn marks on the machine?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like
you'd be
the Miss
playing in some-
Pac-Man tabletop version.
Some
Yeah.
14-year-old Neanderthal would come up and snap a quarter down on the screen because he's got next game, and you're like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
plus
was hardcore, man.
we had like 3 arcades in Hoboken, and one of the things that sucked was a lot of times you had these kids that would show up there with no money, and you'd be sitting there playing, and some like punk kid would come up to you, yo, let me get your last man, let me get your
Yeah.
last man.
Yeah. Yes.
It was horrible. And then like and sometimes a real bully would go to like a kid and just fucking shove him off the machine and just take over, like if like a real small kid.
Dude,
Not that it ever happened to me.
if you're like 9 years old in an arcade
God.
and it's like 1980, it's a
Sounds
it's
like
a
it's
harsh
bringing back some
environment,
memories,
man.
Jack.
Like, I mean, it's blood sport in there.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've been on for a while, but I mean, I was just thinking back, like I obviously like you guys, I spend a lot of time playing video games, like whether on the game system at home or like I said, going to the arcade because we had like 3 in Hoboken that were it was a lot of fun. You go with your friends, you save up a couple of bucks and you just go play your favorite games. But
Galaga,
but
Galaga, baby.
and I know a lot of like nowadays with the video game stuff, a lot of adults do it now too, or they play with their kids. Like I don't really do that. So just in terms of thinking about other things, like Zeus talked about doing like sketches or like taping like sort of radio shows with his buddies. One of the things I used to do was I actually used to like write screenplays, and my dad had like this 8 millimeter film camera, and I would like make little horror movies with my friends and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And then you had to go to like the Kodak or whatever to
Oh,
get
yeah.
to get it developed, and then the spool would come back, like, and we had a projector.
Wow.
And then eventually, like with the VHS recorders, like those big things you'd strap on your shoulder, I would make them on VHS, like these stories, these horror movies. I'd write the script, my friends would memorize the lines, like that was a blast. Like I got a huge charge out of that. And kind of like the illustrating, as I got older, I stopped doing that. And that's something that, sadly, I can't really do now. So I think there's certain things that, like I guess everybody could make a movie with their phone with the cameras on these phones
Yeah,
nowadays.
very
But
well. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, getting
High
people,
definition.
no, getting people to do it, and you'd have to get out. I mean, it's just something that I remember and that was another thing my sister got rid of. She threw out all like the film and the
Oh,
videos. Like, I mean,
Oh,
it was,
jeez,
yeah,
man.
it was really traumatic now that I think about it.
I'm
I'm gonna
surprised you
need,
didn't murder the sister of
no,
yours.
I didn't.
God
I didn't.
damn.
No, I probably should have. But yeah, and then there's probably things that you guys, maybe, I mean, if you guys are like me, like I used to love to write creatively. I had some stuff published when I was younger, but I was also like a voracious reader. Like I loved comic books. I loved like classic literature they made you read at school, and I friggin' loved horror fiction. Clive Barker, Stephen King,
Mm,
some of the earlier stuff. Like I had like an encyclopedia that Stephen King wrote called Dance Macabre, and he referenced like
yeah.
all these different authors. And I would go to used bookstores and I would find these authors and these books. And I had to commute to New York City in high school, and I just had my nose in a book on the train all the time. And it's so funny because now, like we talked about not having time to do the things you love to do.
You would big
I'm trying
time.
I'm trying to read more now. And it's one of those pastimes that it's so time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Like reading is such a slow hobby. I'm trying to make myself do it at least like 30 to
An hour a
45
week.
minutes a day because, it's good for your attention span, it's good to escape, and yeah, it's good for your brain. I mean,
Yeah.
so but I kind of like that went by the wayside for me. Not only the writing, like the writing takes real effort. And I'm trying to get back into that too. But the reading, you just kind of sit down and you escape. And if you could do that for like 40 minutes a day, a lot of people do the audiobooks now, which I guess is, it's the same. You're not holding the book.
I mean, it's all literature.
It's right. It's literature. You're following along with the
You know, it,
story.
it's funny with the mentioning of the video games and reading. It's funny how your references to things like I've mentioned this book before. I know I'm a repeating piece of garbage, whatever.
No, you're not a piece of
But
garbage.
but Ender's Game is a book that I hold very highly. And it's funny when you read that because like there's this part in the book where they're playing these games in what can only be described as an arcade, by our standards. I think kids today might look at it as like sitting in front of the Xbox, but it was the same thing you were talking about. Like, hey, get off the game. I'm better at it. And like challenges and all these other things. And I find it interesting that perspective is also a huge part of what we're talking about. Like
Yeah.
for us, reading is like great. Whether we listen to a book or whether we do it on a Kindle. That was Dr. Anand that was talking about, but I like to read a book.
Yeah, me too.
Got the capability to do all these other things, but man, there's something about turning the pages and
I agree.
Yeah.
just I mean, there's a song Turn the Page. Like these were really like parts of our like the zeitgeist. Again, I know I use that term a lot too, but you get what I'm saying is like
Yeah.
it was such a part of humanity that like literally songs were written with references to things that you did. Like it makes it more intimate and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I like the smell of a book.
Yeah, and Zeus,
Just
something
the smell
about
of it and the feel of the pages.
right. And then also if you have a book that's like this thick and you're working your way through it and you get your bookmarks at like the halfway point, you look at it, it feels like an accomplishment for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
Especially when you're done. Like you just like close that mode.
Dead. So if you go to a thrift store, you can pick up like 50 paperbacks for like $20. Like you can get a ridiculous amount of books. You can
Oh, sure.
yeah. But Yeah, it was funny you guys, because that was one of my things. If we were, I think we've gone too long with our first ones, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's one of my things. I was a voracious reader. Like when I was like 12, I read Swiss Family Robinson. And if anybody knows that book, it ain't a tiny book. It's like 400 pages if you get it in a paperback. It's a beast. But that and like The Stand is like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like this whole what do you call it?
Apocalyptic.
Yeah, but Odyssey. It's like you go through like 10 years of people's lives. It's like some books, man. I worry about the kids today that they're not going to have that. My oldest is reading Ender's Game, and he's like, "This is so predictable." I'm like, it's like it's not predictable at all.
He's probably seen the movie.
Well, there's a lot of things that are referential from it, you know. I mean, it's.
I can't read.
Yeah. When I read Ender's Game, there wasn't a movie.
Wait,
no, I know that I can read. I'm literate. I know how to read words.
Okay.
But I cannot read a book.
Oh.
Like I literally can't do it.
It's hard. No, Desiree, I'm with you. It's very difficult now. Like I have to like make myself do it. And there's nights where I just don't, I'd rather do something else. And I have other hobbies and things that I try to do. But when I think about, like, Zeus mentioned The Stand, I remember I read like every Stephen King novel. I didn't care how long it was. If one came out, I had the hardcover like that day.
Oh, I remember. I was there.
And I was reading, and I would read all the time. And now there's so many distractions and there's so many other ways to entertain yourself. It's it's kind of hard to just say, okay, I'm going to pick up, I've got so many books that I've read, but I have so many books here that I haven't, which kind of is cool because I know they're here. Like now, the only thing that sucks about that is I love going into bookstores. And right now I boycotted that because I can't go into a bookstore without buying a book. And I have so many here that I want to read that I'm kind of like, okay, stop. Like read the shit you got.
And the beauty, and Jack, I mean, there's ones I haven't read yet, but I also, like, I'll go back and pick up a book I already read 15 years ago.
Yeah, I do that too sometimes.
Read it again. And it's like, oh my God, like there's certain books. I mean, there's one, that's the one I talked about the other day, the Thomas Sowell book. But I mean, I can't put it down. And like, I read this thing back, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I'm reading it again. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, but this book is awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you know you liked it, you kind of, if enough time is, that's why I can't get rid of my old Stephen King books. Cause I'm like, well, what if I'm old someday and I want to read the Dark Tower series again?
Yeah.
It's like,
invite
like,
your sister over. She'll get rid of all that.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
Minimizing with Jack's sister. On this episode, we're going to throw everything in the dumpster.
I struggle too, Desiree, because my mind is like, so it's not settled and I try to read.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll read a page. You ever like read the whole page and then you're like, what did I just read?
Yeah. So when I read a book, I read the first chapter, then I read the last chapper.
Wow.
And then find one randomly in the middle and we'll read that one. And if I do those three things in that order, and for some reason doing that, I can like predict the book. I don't know how it's worked.
Has worked reading the ending.
But like also no, Tom, yeah, so what, because I mean I have ADHD really bad, so number one, that's a fucking boring thing to do is to read books. Reading is fucking boring.
Yeah, it's work.
But like
it's work.
If I'm reading a paragraph, like I have to get like a ruler or like a note card or something and like do the thing where you just uncover the line you're reading, because if I'm reading, yes, I will see a word on the like bottom of the page, or and I'm just like,
get distracted.
Or I'll just read the whole page and I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck I just read.
Desiree, I'm the same. Desiree, I don't know when I developed the ADD, but at some point I did, because I find it more difficult now than I did, obviously, when I was younger. But I still try to make myself do it if I can. And that's what makes it so hard to, like, you have to dedicate that you're going to do it, because it's like I can just do my guitar. You know what I mean? Which I find meditative, and I can actively do it, as opposed to picking up a book. But I'm trying to make myself get back into the habit of it, because I did love it so much as a kid, and it does take work. But I think if I, just do it a half an hour a day, or even like 3 or 4 times a week, pick up a book, You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And maybe it's not, maybe it's, if you don't think it's fun or you think it's a waste of time, then yeah, obviously why do it? You know what I mean? But I don't know. I just think
Hey, you know,
there's something to it.
I'll read other
reading,
things. Like I know this is gonna be nerdy, but like I'll read like journal articles, or I'll read like
Well, there you go.
things about how to do something or what, or
Yeah.
like things that
Yeah, that counts.
I think they put that
That's
under
cool.
the nonfiction, but
Yeah, nonfiction history books are great if you have a good history book, you know, like that. Those are great. And obviously, you're a nurse. If you want to read about, you know, medicine or journals, then why not? I mean, I
well,
would do that.
here's the thing. Despite my enjoyment of the aesthetics of reading a book, like holding a book in your hand, it is one of the things that the medium has actually improved with technology. For instance, I was just joking with Mike. Mike heard me, but like my eyesight fucking sucks now. Like,
Yeah, me
so
too.
being able to expand the screen and make the words bigger is fantastic for
Oh,
me.
it's gonna help us later. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Or listening to the book. I'm listening to Ender's Game with Ollie because he's got a, you know, it's part of his curriculum, which just to digress for a second, I think it's so great that that book is part of a curriculum for a
Wow.
school.
Wow.
Because it's such a like really deep, thoughtful book in that 14 to 55 range, you know, books. But well, no, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I probably read it when I was 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I loved it. It's one of the best books I've ever read. The whole series is. But my point being is that so it is one of the things that with technology, I think we have, there's actually been improvements rather than taking away from it. Yeah, you're not holding that book. I mean, we've all held it with, you know, your thumb is holding one page open, your pinky's holding the other one open, and you're walking down the street reading a book. You know what I mean? Like we were like weird with it.
I never did that.
I did all the time.
I see people doing that. I see people on the street, believe it or not, still reading books, but they're walking around doing it. I'm like, God bless you. I
used
can't
to do
do
it
that.
all the time. My peripheral vision must have been insane because I could do it, walk across the street. I would like challenge myself to read while I was walking. But yeah, reading was a huge one. I think is it safe? Well, except for Desiree, clearly she is not the voracious reader that we were, but I think it sounds like all of us were.
Yeah,
I was not voracious, definitely. My sister was.
You are
but I
now?
did enjoy reading. But I, you know, it's one of those things. I wish I would have read more. I enjoy it much more now than I did when I was a kid. I didn't appreciate it as much. But if you give me a book that I'm like dive into it, like I can't put it down. Like even now, like there's books I'm like, oh, this is interesting, this is cool. And then there's other books I'm like, I can't go to sleep. Like I have to turn the page.
I remember those days. Absolutely. Now
I'm
it's
looking
like
for that one. I need another book like that. I
Yeah, I
haven't.
love those.
you guys are all very like language inspired creative, if that makes any sense. Reading, writing, screenplays, drawings.
Yes.
I'm more of the violin, and then my other thing was dance. Like not like just, you know, going out and dancing with your friends, but like I wanted to be a ballerina. I did point ballet, tap, you know. I graduated as some other things, but yeah, it's just a different part of, you know, creative
your life.
I guess.
So quick question, Desiree, with the violin, is it, what do you like more? Do you like the playing of the instrument or the songs themselves? And I have a little note before you answer.
So okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, so the reason I'm asking that is when I was younger, I played the clarinet and I loved playing the clarinet, but all the music they gave me to play was like John Philip Sousa and like all this other stuff. But if they would have had, and we said this on a previous podcast, but if I would have been introduced to, you know, jazz and a lot of stuff I've learned later in life, I think I would have taken to it more. So is it more the music or the instrument? Because for me, it was the instrument. I love the instrument, but I didn't like what they had me playing.
So I think that at first it's the instrument, and then it kind of goes into the music, because once you learn how to play the instrument, you know, you play the John Philip Sousa, you play the Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars shits, things that everyone has to play. And then once you learn the fundamentals and you can do it, then you can kind of do stuff, you know, like I mean, I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I could play that Devil Went Down to Georgia skit. I could do that, but I could also play like, Concerto for Two Violins. I could do both. I liked like the classical side more, but that was fun. Like getting into that music, like being able to like, move
and like beating the thing that was giving you trouble, right? Like learning the technique to pull off this one thing and move into another, I imagine was a big part of that.
It's just a kind of, yeah. I mean,
challenge.
There's
like so many techniques and like
you got to do it.
Back.
You have to do it. I'm just saying it's you're bringing it up. You obviously have a passion for it. You bought this antique instrument. Don't make it a chore. Chores suck.
Yeah, listen to Sling Blade there.
No, I'm saying don't make it a chore, but give yourself some space to fiddle around with it. No pun intended. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
He said fiddle, and it's a violin, and violins are known as fiddles. So
I'm saying. I think you want to do it, and you have. You should.
Yeah, we could post it on the podcast page.
Just start playing around with it. Yeah. Half an hour.
So, if I may, guys, I'm not trying to end the show, but I think this would be an interesting digression that stays with what we're doing. Are there any things that a new interest that you didn't have when you were a child?
Yeah,
like, I got one, and I'll go first since I'm bringing it up. But like something new that has come across, your field of vision. For me, it's cooking. Like you guys, I mean, like I get it. Like there's like just the science or the skills. I've probably always had them. Like for instance, when we were on our trip, I made banana bread in a complete fashion that I'd never done before. Like I never mixed it all with the spoon. I always had the KitchenAid, and it was decent at bare minimum.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
And like I enjoy. I like there's nothing for me nowadays more satisfying than when I make a meal and they just tear it apart. It's done. Like doesn't last for leftovers. You know what I mean? Like
that's a good one, Zeus. I've heard a lot of people get into cooking that really didn't know how to cook, and they teach themselves.
And I get like the science of it, if that makes any sense. Like
sure.
The salt, I get why the salt is added to banana bread. You're thinking banana bread, you're not thinking salt, but it's like to offset the flavor. Like the salt is just bringing out something else from your taste buds. Like I love the science of it. I'm not like, Iron Chef level, but I would like to learn to make a few things and increase my repertoire.
That's great.
But for me, that's my thing. I would, when I get older, I think I'll take some culinary courses and see what I can do with that.
Yeah, when you get older again. There you go again, Zeus. What are you waiting for God's sake?
You're there, dude.
Yeah, you're there.
That's you're there. Right, you have arrived.
Well,
you have arrived.
I'm generally not allowed to do things that I like, so that's generally why I'm saying.
You guys get those AARP letters?
Yes.
I've started getting those.
I get the emails now. Yeah,
Is that like AAA?
Kind of
for old people.
I tear them up.
Like laugh it up,
I don't want
to.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you a funny story. One day AARP got brought up, and we were going out to dinner. It was Dana and I and my mom and my aunt, and the AARP thing got brought up, discounts and all that. And I'm like, yeah, no. I said, I get these emails asking me they know how old I am. And my mom's like, oh, yeah, I signed you up. When we get home, I'll give you your membership number. And honestly, she was not kidding. She gave me the card.
Jeez, man.
She gave me the card. I think I have it in my wallet. I was like,
Ma, don't sign me up for AARP.
Okay, cool.
That story would have been perfect if it was your sister that had signed you up.
Got there, she threw it away.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys are hilarious.
Your sister's going to throw away your AA.
Jack's like, oh, cool, I can go to Luby's for the $4 dinner.
Right. No, Sissy threw it out.
Early bird.
That's great.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, as far as like hobbies and stuff that I didn't do as a kid that I'm trying to do now that I am doing, like the guitar I didn't really get into until I was like I had a guitar in my 20s, but I didn't know how to play it very well. In my 30s, I did. I was like I played bass really more, but I'm picking that up again. And I really didn't do that as a kid at all. Obviously, I was no athlete as a kid, and I didn't work out in any way. And now I'm trying to exercise, which is another good release of stress, and it obviously is a healthy thing to do. And then I mentioned the painting. Like I know I like to illustrate as a kid, and I'm gonna try to like sketch again and do things like that. But the painting thing, it frightens me, but I've done it a couple of times, like I said, and I'm gonna try to do that. I got myself the canvases and the
Yeah.
paint, and we'll see how that goes. But no, cooking I'm afraid of because other people are going to eat it, and I don't want to mess with that. And I like to eat other people's cooking, really. That I like to eat.
Yeah.
Eating is good.
Eating's good.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything
My
that
current day hobbies. Okay, so gardening, but hold on. So not like I'm trying to have a homestead gardening. So of course, you gotta grow the corn. Everyone eats that. But like I want to grow stuff. I try to grow stuff. Okay, so one time I grew those little baby corns that you get in
Oh,
South?
corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little
Yeah.
candy corns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not candy corns, they're real corns.
No, They're in a can.
Oh yeah, like pickled corns.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
like little. I love those. They're so good. So I figured out that that's a certain like cultivar of corn, and they really do grow. They only grow that big, and then you gotta like pickle them. So I grew a couple. I only got like 4 corns. I couldn't even not enough to even do a whole jar, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then another time I grew different cherry tomato varieties, and this
Oh,
year I
cool.
have like these teeny tiny ones. They're like this big, and they grow like. And not regular tomatoes. I just go by. I don't think homegrown ones are any better than the ones
Those
you
are
can
the
get at the
Roma
store, to be
tomatoes.
honest.
Depends.
Different
Depends.
little cherry tomatoes. Those are fun to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
And then
She's
really,
all
really
about,
hot
like
peppers.
bioengineering and stuff.
No, like a Trinidad scorpion or whatever, and like the Carolina Reapers.
Reapers.
Yeah, those
What is-
peppers. Yeah.
Look,
Wow.
There's
Again-
nothing better than going out in your garden and picking up like a cucumber and biting into it or a tomato, and it's still warm from the sun.
No, see, that's not even no. This year, I'm doing a cut flower garden. I'm not even gonna do like vegetables.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Because then
All
like
right.
fucking bugs always get to them, and
Well, and
I'm tired of dealing with that.
to your benefit, you're clearly in a much more fertile land for growing things, I would imagine.
No,
No?
I have clay soil.
Oh,
So that's again, it's a whole thing. So I figured out that we had clay soil, so I could grow shit, and then so I had to like figure out how do I break this up? Like what amendments do I have to put in the soil? This is like a process. You have to put the gypsum in, and then I had to do this, and then
It's all about the process, man.
yeah. The other thing is like painting, but not like artwork. Like I do not do artwork. I can do surfaces. So like I love painting walls. This is soothing. Like the sound of the roller.
See that?
Yeah.
Or like
There's nothing I hate more.
no, it's
Yeah, I-
soothing. If you had to
hate
do it though,
painting.
I think it would be different. But
put on
just
some
so
music
soothing.
and paint. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's great.
so and then after I realized that is super soothing, like then I started painting furniture. So and that's really fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen the furniture you've done. You got a real skill for that. That is
Yeah.
something you should definitely be doing on your
But I
side hustle.
can't do like any type of, paint a thing. Like I can't paint a tree or a person or like a dog or anything. So.
Yeah.
But you can
Sound
paint
like you
something.
should get into like that epoxy stuff where they like pour the epoxy and make the tables and
Yeah,
stuff
but I
on it.
don't like that style. That's
I know what Desiree doesn't do. She doesn't cook.
no, I don't cook. Because it's and honestly, here's why I don't cook, because I used to cook and it wasn't like I was good at it. I mean, it wasn't bad. It worked out, I guess, but I just didn't feel like it was appreciated enough.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And it
Screw
felt,
up.
it felt,
Cooking is a social thing.
it felt
Absolutely.
like it just I was expected to do it, and
Oh, fuck
just-
that.
Yeah.
I'm not,
No,
but
it's
I
all
wasn't,
about the
but hold
social
on,
Zeus
but I
part.
wasn't.
Zeus
I
likes
wasn't
it
like
when the
told that I
kids
had
eat it.
to.
Yeah.
I disagree with you, Mike. I disagree with you, Mike, because I really enjoy like making myself like a really like a decent like lunch for work, like a steak, some mashed potatoes, like that's a. I don't know if it's. I think sometimes, again, we've said this a few times in this episode, but sometimes it's about the process. It's relaxing to cook.
I'm with and I 100% agree. But it's also nice to be able to share something. I mean, when there was a period of time where I cooked all the time, and it was because I had a friend living in my house, and he was never cooked, and so I was like, give me some money, I'm gonna cook, blah 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 blah. So it gave me like an opportunity to cook stuff normally I wouldn't cook for myself, so I would make dishes and I'd put them so we'd have them for the whole week, you know what I mean, like we could just like grab them, go to work or whatever. But having people appreciate it, that's or people with you when you're cooking. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, that is so awesome. I'm not a great cook, but I love being in a kitchen.
How about
when someone's cooking?
How about the breakfasts we made on the trip with the bacon bread? Oh my!
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Bacon bread.
The bacon bread was redonkulous.
It was.
I can bake. I like to bake. I like to creative, bake. But if you're either a baker or a cook, they're
two different things. Yeah, they're totally two different things.
I remember just talk about the subject of why don't you do something anymore? Okay, so one day, when I first met Craig, it was hard to like cook for two people. I mean, it's just really hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
And so I was making this tomato sauce. I was making spaghetti, and out of like the tomatoes, where you like boil the tomatoes and then you like peel the skins and then you like puree and then you add the white, like the whole nine. Okay, and it was really good. It was so good, and then we ate, and that was it. And I'm just like, I feel like I need a fucking red carpet and an award. And I spent 4 hours on this for a 20-minute ordeal. Then I mean, what am I going to do with the rest of it? I have, I just.
Yeah, I get it.
I get it.
Gratitude, man.
Well, and it's not that he was unappreciative.
Right.
Sure.
He just didn't.
But
understand, I mean,
what could he have done to? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm with you.
Right?
Desiree.
No, I know.
What was he supposed to do? Like jump
up? I don't
up?
know.
You gotta kind of love the act of cooking.
That's
that's what I'm saying. To me, it wasn't worth it. So why do it if I can just?
Yeah.
Do you guys ever see
about the process again? To use the word again, but for me, it's about the actual. To make it taste this way, and like for me, it's like a whole.
It's the journey.
Yeah.
Mike, what were you going to say before? Because I think we've been on for a while.
I know. Yeah, we got to get off. But I'll tell you one thing that I didn't do when I was little, but I love doing now. And I can't explain why. I love finding things. Like if someone.
Oh my gosh, Mike, me too. I love
if someone loses something, I'm like, when's the last time you saw it? Where was it? Was it Sunday? Was it after the trash got put out? Like, I do this whole freaking FBI crime scene investigation within 10 seconds. I'm like, I am the best finder of things you have ever known in your life. Like, I will find your shit. Like,
Mike, we need to get together and find like dead bodies or something.
Okay, yeah.
Like, look what I'm holding up. Do you remember the trip?
Yes.
My glasses.
I found his glasses. Yeah, I do.
Oh, where'd you find them at?
They were like on the other side of the railing by the hot tub.
Oh yeah.
But what I'm saying is, when I find something, I get this adrenaline rush that is like what marathon runners must experience. I love finding. When people are like, "I can't find something," I'm like, I'm all into it, man. Like, I want to find it.
The great thing is pretty soon you're going to start losing shit on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's true.
Supply your own needs.
That's true.
See, I don't like looking for other people's shit because I'm like, find your own shit. But like I said, like if you go to like a thrift store and you find something that's like not trash, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, we got to do an episode on this, Desiree, for sure. There's a whole science to it.
All right, guys, this has been fun. We have been on for a while now, I think. So I guess sadly it's time to wrap things up.
Exactly.